Jeff with Corner Creek Woodworking. Today I'm going to show you how to make this tree. Creek Woodworking. Today I'm going to show you how to make this birdhouse. You're going to start off drawing a straight line here. This needs to be cut at a 22.5 degree. Now, we're going to measure out here. Never put anything under the part that you're cutting off, because that'll get in a bind and the saw will back and hurt you. That's one piece. Now, I'll need to rip this board a little bit. Alright, so before I start doing this and drilling these holes, I'm going to wait until after I cut this. I'm going to do it before I cut this, so that I've got more here to mess with. Be a little bit safer and easier to do. So, you go. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to measure down from the long part of this cut. I'll make my line. And I'm going to measure up here. It's right there. I'm going to find my center, which is going to be here. Then I'm going to do the same thing here. for the perch. All right. I'm going to use a Forstner bit because I do not have a hole saw. But a hole saw is a lot cheaper than a Forstner bit. And I'll put a link to a hole saw in the description. And a hole saw won't make this much of a mess either. There you go. Sometimes I'm not very organized, but that's okay.
Now what are you doing?
This is going to be the hole for the birds to get in and out of. And now I'm going to drill a hole to put the dowel rod in for the bird perch. That was easier. Now that I've got these cut or drilled, we'll cut this piece off. If you want to know my measurements, I have some plans available. I'll have a link in the description. If you don't do that, I just make my own rule. All right.
What are you doing now?
Now I'm going to rip this board down to a smaller width for the sides and for the bottom.
Now, why are you using the skill saw instead of your other saws?
Because I want this to be a DIY project. I have a table saw that would make this a lot easier, but not everyone that's going to be buying the plans are going to have the table saw. Table saws are great to have, but for projects like this, they're not 100% necessary. It'll be better. My boards aren't going to be cut exactly perfect like they would be on the table saw, but that's the way I want to do it. I'm going to adjust the depth of this saw before I make this cut. And anytime you do anything, make sure you unplug it, because I would rather have, if I were to get cut, which I don't want to, but if I were to, I would rather have a cut this deep than this deep. If that makes sense. Alright, so let's plug this back up.
why do you use the board underneath that when you're cutting?
So I don't cut it on my table. Just lifts it up. That's why I adjusted the length, the depth of the cut, so that it would be higher than the table. So I didn't cut it. Which I have done before. You can see it on here somewhere. All right, just a couple more. Get this in.
So what are you measuring for this right now?
This is going to be my bottom piece. And the reason I turned this around is your factory ends aren't very good, and they're typically cracked. It's got checking. So you always want a better cut. All right. I have to zoom in a little bit on this. This next cut is going to be a 22.5 degree. If you look at the plans, you'll see it. And basically what I have to do is match this cut on here, this way. So, the way you do that is you mark out the length that you want, and you'll have to do it this way. Right here is your degrees. You see where it says 20? You put your edge right here at your mark, and you're going to roll this up to 22.5, and it's flipped right there. Here we go. Now this will match that. Make sense? Now, I need another board exactly like this, so I'm going to take this piece and lay it here. You can also check your cut too. If everything lines up on your sides and this cuts, it shows that you weren't going too bad. So, this is the last piece. Alright, do away with this. You have any other questions?
Not right now.
Alright, so now get this smaller bit.
Do you have to have special bits?
You need the right size. Okay, let me show you. I've got these screws. Use exterior construction screws. And the easiest way to do it is take the bit itself and hold it above the threads. And you want the bit to be just a tiny bit smaller than the shaft of the screw itself. Okay?
Okay.
You want to drill a hole because we're going to be screwing through real close to the edge along the grain, and if you don't pre-drill the holes, they'll crack. Sometimes they'll crack anyway, but a little bit of a crack's not gonna really hurt anything. I just don't want a huge crack.
Okay.
That could cause a problem. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put this here. I'm gonna mark a line. And this doesn't matter because we're gonna paint it anyway. Now.
And this lumber is treated?
No.
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 And why is it not treated?
I don't know that it would hurt. It may not. But some people tend to think that the treated lumber will hurt the birds.
Oh.
I don't know. I'm not a chemist, but I do know that if you paint this, it'll last several years. And this board was like $13, so.
You have to protect the birds.
Yeah, I would rather protect the birds than worry about that. So the reason I drew this line is because this is going to be exactly where it's going to be fitting, right? Okay. And I want to be as close to the center of this board as possible. Let's look at my plans.
And you can get these plans where?
Etsy, Corner Creek Woodworking, but I will have a link in the description here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drill 3 holes here on each side.
And they don't have to be at a precise point?
No. Just not too close to the edge, either top or bottom or either side. Okay. Now, I like to go ahead and start a screw. Now, you will want to do this, start at the top, because when you put the screw in, there's only one, there's going to be a tendency to twist the board. Okay? So you want to do that. If it twists and you're at the top, then you can easily move it around. But a lot of times in the middle, if it twists, sometimes it'll move over a little bit and you'll never get it back straight. Then you can go to the middle. And then the bottom.
And you just did the other side the same.
Exactly the same. And I'll probably edit this part out. This is the first birdhouse I've built since I was about 7 years old. We had a vacation Bible school at church when I was a little boy.
So when you're making these with kids, can you give any tips on how they can be incorporated?
Yeah, kids can do this, absolutely. You just want them to be safe. Don't let them use any of the tools. The drill is fine. I would put a screw in it and then hold it while they put the screw in. Just make sure they keep their hands far away because it will come off. You'll have a little hole in here. It doesn't matter. It's something you can kind of remind you of the day, I guess. So now we're going to do the same thing. That's front. No, we're not. Just put the bottom in. You want to put the bottom in now, because if you wait, you will never get it in. Good deal. All right, so we got this in here. Any board is going to be warped a little bit. I asked somebody about it one time, and they asked me if I'd ever seen a straight tree. So I had not. So it's going to be a little warped. That's fine. This is not going to be perfect. So what I'm going to do, I've got a little bit of a gap back here that will straighten out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here.
And this is just drilling the bottom onto it.
Right. Now, the gap is gone. And everything's nice and flush. So I'm going to go ahead and put one screw all the way around.
Now, why are you switching out on your tools?
You don't have to. I have to. So I don't have to keep taking the drill bit out, putting in the screw bit in, and back and forth. So it's just easier. You don't have to have it. I didn't have to in the beginning. Remember the chairs?
Oh, yes.
It was awful.
Makes it go a lot faster.
A lot faster. But most of you that are building this are probably not trying to do it as quickly as possible. Probably just trying to enjoy yourself. So, almost done. See?
It's coming together.
So, I'm going to do the same thing with this. We use this piece of scrap. That's not scrap, this is the top.
What are you lining out?
Where to put the screws at,
Oh, okay.
like I did on the back. Just make it a little easier. I'm only going to put two here. You do want to make sure that you get your drill as straight up and down as possible. Because if you go at an angle, your screw's going to follow that path and will either poke out the side or the inside, and then you'll have a weak joint there.
I need to be taller. So when our grandbabies get bigger, we can do this with them.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm out of screws.
Uh-oh. What do you tell your people then?
You should have bought more screws. But I have more.
And you said use exterior. Does it matter what brand or?
No, they're all going to be the same. You can go to any Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards, or depending on where you're at. You can get a box of these for a few dollars. I'll have a link to these in the description also. But you just want to have the exterior screw, because even if you paint the exterior screw, it'll still, or interior screw, it will still rust. And
it mess up the hole.
It'll eventually fall apart.
Okay. So there's a reason behind everything.
Yeah. But not just because they're shiny. Okay. Almost. Now, this has got a little bit of an overhang on each side. I kind of did it on purpose just to make it look a little more like a house. It's got a little bit of an overhang here. I didn't have it put as much of an overhang across the front as I did the sides. I don't know why. I just didn't. I'm sure I had a good reason at the time though. So this is, you're just gonna have to kind of mark this one your best. Figure out about where your board is gonna be here and here. That's gonna, should be about the center of the board. And this is probably not exactly centered, but it's the way I'm gonna do it. So what I'm gonna do here, let's go back to my speed square.
And what do you use the speed square for?
Anything marking like this, I marked out all the lines for my cuts. I figured my angle with it. So these things are really, really inexpensive, and you can really do a lot with it. So we'll put 2 more screws. I'm not going to put one at the end because I'm afraid I'll be too far to the end of this. Okay. And you really don't even have to have, you can do this with nails too, as long as you drill a hole. Be fine.
If you just had hammer and nails?
Yeah. You'd still want to drill a hole, but if you didn't want to buy the screws, you could buy some nails and be fine. And what I'm going to do, I'm not going to put this all the way in just yet, because I'm afraid it'll start twisting on me. So I'm going to start 2. Before I finish it. Now, last bit. Measure this out.
And what are you measuring right now?
This is going to be the perch for the birds. I'm going to go into this hole here. I'm going to cut it with a handsaw, because I don't want to cut it with anything else.
Because it's so delicate?
No, my fingers are delicate. Can could actually cut it with a miter saw, but I'm trying to do this on the cheap.
For the everyday man or woman.
Okay. Now, let's see if it's gonna fit. And it will. We're gonna take a little bit of this wood glue.
Now, where do you get wood glue?
There'll be a link in the description.
Would you use anything else besides wood glue, or?
I've been told, I've heard that white Elmer's glue will work. I don't know if it would work outside or not. I'm going to put this Type Bond 3. They make a Type Bond 1, Type Bond 2, Type Bond 3, and then some other stuff. But the 3 is the rated for outdoor. I'm going to stick my finger in here so I don't go too far. Push it to the end right there. I'm going to wipe off this little bit of a glue here. And that's it.
So that's all you do is just glue that part.
Yep.
And it's complete.
You have a birdhouse. Paint it any way you want to. You do want to use an exterior paint. You can go all out, maybe get some caulk and caulk these in. I'm not going to. But that's it. Before you attach it to a tree or to a pole or whatever, you want to pre-drill a couple of holes and run you some exterior screws into the tree or light pole or whatever you want to do. And that's it.